the weighted average cost of capital. The most accurate and reliable method of project evaluation in most circumstances is NPV. Now, when implementing the NPV method, we needed to discount future cash flows using an appropriate discount rate. That the appropriate discount rate should be the firm's cost of capital. The firm's cost of capital is the amount that it pays to the providers of capital to use their money to purchase real assets. The income from the real assets then flows back to the providers of capital. If the NPV of a project is a positive number, it indicates that the project is returning greater than the cost of capital, and therefore increasing the value of the firm and the wealth of shareholders. An important concept in calculating the cost of capital is the firm's capital structure. If we consider this simple balance sheet that we've looked at in previous topics, everything on the right-hand side of the balance sheet, debt and equity, constitutes the capital structure of the firm. Because we need a single number that represents the cost of capital, we need to distinguish between a simple average and a weighted average. A simple average, we sum the values and divide by the number of values that there are. With a weighted average, we weight each value by the significance of its contribution to the average that is being estimated. When it comes to calculating the weighted average cost of capital, the weights that we will use are the proportion that each source of capital represents in the firm's capital structure. In order to calculate the weighted average cost of capital, we need to know the value of each source of capital so that we can determine its weighting within the overall capital structure. There are two different kinds of values that we could use. The first of them is the book value, which is the historical cost of the debt and equity securities that are shown on the balance sheet. Or we could use market value, which is the current value of those securities that investors would be prepared to pay for them. Since we're going to use the weighted average cost of capital to make decisions about the future, the cost of each source of capital in the capital structure is the rate of return that the providers of capital require, and that will be based on the current market value of those securities. So whenever possible, we should always be using market values in calculating the weighted average cost of capital. If market values are not available, sometimes book value is the best that we have available. ABC Limited has debt with a book or face value of $10 million, trading at 95% of face value, and 4 million ordinary shares trading at $3.50 each. What is the total market value of debt and equity, assuming that these are the only components of the capital structure? What is the weight of debt in the capital structure? And what is the weight of equity in the capital structure? Since debt is trading at 95% of its book value of $10 million, the market value of debt is $9.5 million. The market value of shares is equal to the number of shares times the share price. 4 million times $3.50 gives us $14 million, and a total market value of $23.5 million. The weighting of debt is the $9.5 million divided by the total value of $23.5 million, or 40.4%. And the weight of equity is 14 million divided by 23.5 million, 59.6%. We could also calculate it as 100 minus 40.4%.